The ancient Israelites, also known as Hebrews or Jews, indisputably represented the most prominent people in the Bible's sacred scriptures. Many are familiar with its language, culture, and especially with the ancestral Judaism of the prophets, priests, and other Old Testament figures. However, few people have any knowledge of the genetic origin of ancient Israelites in this video. My purpose is to introduce some studies of the ancient Jewish genome, so as to provide a broader understanding of the Jewish groups that are closer to the ancient Israelites and to unravel the mystery of the ancient Israelites' DNA. Genetic studies of Jewish DNA are part of the discipline of population genetics. They are used to investigate the chronology of Jewish migrations, accompanied by research in various other fields, such as history, linguistics, archaeology, and paleontology. These investigations seek to understand the origins of the various Jewish ethnic divisions, particularly examining whether there is a common genetic inheritance among them. In other words, a type of genetic Abraham studies on Jewish populations. They have been conducted mainly through three types of tests of genealogical DNA: autosomal DNA, rich chromosome DNA, and mitochondrial DNA. Autosomal DNA tests that analyze the mix of all ODNAs show that Jewish populations tend to form genetically isolated groups that are relatively related in independent communities. Most of these communities, it shares significant ancestors with the Ashkenazi Jews, forming a group. Mitochondrial and chromosome DNA and crude DNA tests, on the other hand, analyze maternal and paternal descent, respectively, through two small sets of genes passed only by female or male ancestors. Studies on the genetic composition of the Jewish communities of Ashkenaz, Sephardic, and Mizrahi in the Jewish diaspora. They reveal a remarkable presence of shared Middle Eastern ancestry. Let's briefly explore each of these communities, starting with the Ashkenazis. This group is one of the largest subdivisions of Judaism, with roots in Central and Eastern Europe, such as Germany, Poland, Russia, and neighboring countries. Throughout history, they have developed their own liturgical traditions, customs, and dialects of the Hebrew language. For centuries, the communities that were born have profoundly influenced European culture and made significant contributions to fields such as literature, philosophy, and science. Then we have the Sephardic communities, whose origins go back to the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, and Portugal, as well as regions of North Africa and the Middle East. The term Sephardite. It is derived from the Hebrew name for Spain. In the 15th century, many Sephardic Jews were expelled from Spain during the Spanish Inquisition, subsequently dispersing around the world and establishing communities in countries such as Morocco, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, among others. The Sephardic communities maintain distinct cultural, liturgical, and culinary traditions, reflecting their geographical and historical origins. In addition, there are Mizrahi, a term that refers to Jewish communities originating in the Middle East and North Africa, with a history that dates back thousands of years. These communities have roots in countries such as Iraq, Iran, Egypt, Syria, and Lebanon. They preserve their own religious, cultural, and linguistic traditions, often different from the Ashkenaz and Sephardic communities, although they share the Jewish faith. The Mizrahi communities have a unique history and experience, shaped by interactions with local cultures and societies over the centuries. These three subdivisions represent only a part of Jewish history and culture, demonstrating the diversity and resilience of the Jewish people over time and around the world. Several Jewish groups present a remarkable and extensive genetic similarity with the present-day Lebanese Palestinians. Bedouins, Druze, Arabs, Jordanians, and Syrians, as well as the population of the region that covers the area known as Mesopotamia. Jews living in Europe, such as Italy, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, and Russia, among other European countries, often have a variety of genetic overlaps with the non-Jewish population along the maternal lines. That suggests there was some kind of mix. With certain European populations, especially in the case of Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, mainly from southern Europe, although also from other European regions. Some researchers have even observed relationships between Ashkenazi Jews and certain European populations due to the cross that took place long ago. Genetic studies indicate that the Jews B'nai Israel from Khotin in India and Beta Israel from Ethiopia. Although they share similarities with the local populations, they also show traces of Jewish ancestry or of other Semitic populations, as is the case with Ethiopian Jews. Additionally, there are several Jewish groups with varied ancestry, some more significant than others, reflected in genetic studies of DNA of ancient Israelites, the Jews of Ethiopia, also known as Beta Israel or Falacha. It has a unique and fascinating story. Historically, the Beta Israelites are believed to be descendants of the lost tribes of Israel, specifically the tribe of Dan or the tribe of Manasseh. They are believed to have migrated to Ethiopia thousands of years ago, possibly during the time of King Solomon and Queen Sheba. For centuries, the Beta Israelis lived in relative isolation in Ethiopia. While maintaining distinct religious and cultural practices, they followed a unique form of Judaism that included elements of the Old Testament, but also differed in some respects from conventional Jewish traditions. In addition to the Jews, there were the ancient Samaritans, who still exist today and share a large part of their genetic heritage with the ancient Israelites. In turn, the Palestinians inherit some of this DNA. Due to the ancient Jewish presence in the region where they currently reside, according to a 2017 study published in Frontiers in Genetics, principal component analyses point to a genetic similarity between the ancient Levantine and the Palestinians of today, including the Bedouins of the Levant region. In addition, a 2017 study in the American Journal of Human Genetics. It suggests a predominance of Levantine ancestry among Palestinians, with an overlap between the Bronze Age and the present Levantine population, indicating a genetic continuity in the region. A more recent study, conducted in 2020, revealed significant genetic continuity between human remains from the Bronze Age Palestinian and Israeli populations, suggesting a genetic link between several Arabic-speaking groups in the region, Palestinians such as the Druze, Lebanese, Jordanians, Bedouins, and Syrians, as well as various Jewish groups such as the Ashkenazi, Jewish, Mizrahi, Iranian, and Moroccan have been the objects of studies on their ancestry. It was discovered that the Palestinians, among other peoples, Levantine. They have about 81% of their ancestry from the ancient Bronze Age Levantine, which are related to the ancient Israelites and several other Semitic tribes that inhabited the region, including the Canaanites themselves. In relation to the Jews, funeral genetic studies revealed that besides the DNA of ancient Israeli Semites, they also have an average of 42 to 60% of European ancestry derived from Germanic, Italian, and Slavic peoples. When analyzing the Semitic genetics of the ancient Israelites in the present Jewish groups, the Jews, those who are born, have between 20% and 28% of their genetics coming from the ancient Israelites, or some reaching as high as 39%. Without Jews, those who are Nazis have between 20 by 128%, reaching a maximum of 39% of their ancient Israeli genetics in their DNA. Most of their ancestry, about 58% to 60%, is of European origin, resulting from mixing during the diaspora with Europeans. In contrast, Sephardic Jews show a slightly higher percentage of ancient Israeli origin. In its genetics, it is compared with Ashkenazis, but about half of its genetic composition is similar to that of Ashkenazis with European influence. As for the Mizrahi Jews who remained in the Middle East and did not mingle with European peoples, they have a significant proportion of their genetics, more than 63% of which were derived from ancient Israelites among the Jewish groups, the Mizrahi Jews. They are the closest genetically to the ancient Israelites. Many people wonder which group of Jews today is most genetically and historically similar to the ancient biblical Jews. And the answer is clear: the Jews Mizrahim. Although the Jews, the Ashkenazi, and the Sephardic were also descended from the ancient Jews, their genetic affinity was lower than that of the Mizrahi Jews. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little more about the genetics of ancient Israelites and the Jewish groups most related to them today. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it and share it with those who have similar interests in the genetics of ancient Israelites. May God bless them, and see you soon.